Well, this is Sky News. In just a moment, the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages. First, though, our top stories this evening. Ministers are to reconsider their decision not to award compensation to the so-called WASPy women. A pension repayment scheme could cost more than £10 billion. The Justice Secretary, David Lammy, has apologised as it emerged that dozens of prisoners have been freed by mistake over the past 7 months. And in the wake of the Panorama row, the Culture Secretary says she wants to ensure the BBC is fiercely independent and genuinely accountable to the public. Well, hello there, you're watching the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages. Time then to see what's making the headlines with the broadcaster and commentator Ali Miraj and the journalist and broadcaster Sonia Sodha. Welcome and great to see both of you. So let's take a look at the front pages then, shall we? Starting with The Guardian, which says it understands that if the upcoming budget is poorly received, Sir Keir Starmer's leadership could be under threat from a number of senior Labour figures, including the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting. From the Financial Times, news that is unlikely to quell speculation ahead of the budget. UK unemployment stands at nearly 5%. That's the highest for a decade outside the pandemic. The Daily Mail leads with the figures which show more than 60,000 job losses in just 2 months and points the finger at the Chancellor as unemployment climbs to 5%. The Eye leads with the government's announcement that it is reconsidering its decision not to compensate millions of women born in the 1950s, known as WASPy women, who say they weren't given sufficient warning of the state pension age being lifted. As the controversy around Panorama's editing of Donald Trump continues, the Telegraph quotes outgoing BBC boss Tim Davie, saying of the corporation staff, "We are the very best of society." The 11-year jail sentence, for the ringleader of a multi-billion-pound cryptocurrency scam is the main story for the Metro. The Mirror front page pictures the Princess of Wales honouring Royal Navy veterans at the National Memorial Arboretum, and it carries an interview with the mother of Harvey Wilgoose, who was stabbed to death at school in Sheffield, saying she'll meet her son's killer. And I'm a celebrity, get me out of this, The Sun says, as contestants force celeb chiefs to limit jungle challenges. Well, Ali, Sonia are here. Let's go straight to The Guardian. Sonia, why don't you kick off, which is the potential of a leadership challenge against the Prime Minister.
Yeah, so this is all over social media tonight. What looks to be happening is that Number 10 is briefing out that they are very, very worried about a leadership plot gathering momentum against Keir Starmer. And the cabinet minister that they are fingering in this leadership plot is one Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, who is known to be very ambitious. He's considered to be an excellent communicator, and there's been some speculation about him for quite some while. But if you're a member of the public reading the newspapers tonight, you might think, now, why on earth would Downing Street be briefing out that they're worried about a plot to sort of oust Keir Starmer and replace him with Wes Streeting, if that's what they're worried about? I mean, surely that makes Keir Starmer look weak. And I think what's going on is I suspect Number 10 think they're doing this very smart political move whereby you brief something out before it happens and you try and flush it out. So that's the first strategy. So by sort of fingering Wes Streeting in this, they're hoping that he's apparently doing the government broadcast rounds tomorrow. When this gets put to him, he'll have to say, no, of course not. You know, I'm 100% loyal to Keir Starmer, and then they squash it. The other thing tactic that they seem to be doing is they've told some journalists, Number 10 sources, that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are the only thing kind of keeping the markets going, making sure that the price of government debt doesn't go up. Now, the problem with this strategy is it's a party management strategy, right? It's not a public management strategy. And I'm afraid if you're just a normal person who might be tuning in to the odd 10 p.m. headline tonight or tuning into the headlines tomorrow, you're just going to listen to this and think, it's chaos. It's chaos in Number 10. There's all this talk of coup, the Prime Minister saying that the markets are going to go wild unless he's there to sort of hold everything together, and Rachel Reeves is there to hold everything together. So it's not really giving the impression of a calm, capable, stable government, which is what this government said the public were going to get when they got voted in.
So number 10 and 11, one presumes, circling the wagons in a protective mechanism tonight.
Yes.
We haven't even had the budget, which clearly is not going to deliver great news to members of the public. So where's this going?
Well, Keir Starmer said, to Sonia's point, that when he came in, that politics would tread more lightly on our lives. Not really sure that we can say that tonight. It's complete meltdown mode at number 10, totally extraordinary at the moment. There's a source within inside the government saying that number 10 is in full bunker mode and people are turning against each other. In fact, they're turning against their key ministers. Now, there is some argument that Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, and Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, are both on manoeuvres. There's a lot of speculation about a potential leadership bid being mounted after the budget because Labour's been languishing in the polls. They're under a lot of pressure. I mean, this argument that Sonia referred to about no, we need to keep things stable because the bond markets will have a meltdown was exactly the line that Rachel Reeves was using the other evening, saying that, well, if I resign on the back of increasing income tax, what do you think would happen to the bond markets? Well, I, for one, work with city professionals every day of the week. I'd be cracking open the non-alcoholic Schlur, I can tell you. No one's going to lament the sacking of the Chancellor. I'm sorry, no one's going to lament it. Least of all me.
Really?
No,
Even
I really don't think so, because, but having said that, she's just doing her boss's bidding. So we need to have some clear strategy from this government about what they're going to do. They're going to make some difficult decisions. They're going to have to own those, and we're going to see what the fallout is on November the 26th. But I won't be lamenting the fact if Reeves or Starmer fall, particularly, no.
Can I ask a quick question, though, which is, clearly there is some pressure within the Labour Party for them not to break their manifesto. We've heard it from the left this week.
Yeah, Lucy Powell.
So indeed so, and from her.
Yes.
Is this a mechanism, do you think, to keep Downing Street in check and not break their manifesto, actually? And there's some sort of subtlety, conspiracy and subterfuge underway
I
here.
think it's worse than that. I think MPs are really despairing about their leadership. And it's just extraordinary when you think that this is a party that won a huge majority less than a year and a half ago. But I genuinely think there are a lot of Labour MPs who are quite despondent about where the party is in the polls they're projecting forward to the next election. The problem is that if you're saying to your party, you better keep us in place because otherwise the markets are going to go wild, it's just not a very attractive pitch either to MPs or the public.
I agree with that, but the Labour Party is also not serious. So you can't square this circle. On the one hand, we're going to come
trying to be, don't you think?
Well, I think Starmer and Reeves are trying to do what they can, but their own party are not serious. So on the one hand, they don't want any welfare cuts. On the other hand, there are going to be tax increases of whatever kind you want because there's a 30, 40, whatever billion black hole you want. And the OBR comes out with these forecasts twice a year. Now, even the IMF is saying that this twice a year thing is very destabilising. It's not needed. Just do it once a year, make a budget once a year. Yes, the OBR can issue guidance after 6 months, but don't react to it because this stop-start thing is not helping anything at all. So the Labour Party itself wants to spend, wants to tax on the other side, and in the meantime, unemployment's rising to a post-pandemic high at the moment of nearly 5%.
While you're talking, we can see the Daily Mail and indeed the FT on that very story. But anyway,
the FT's leading on this. The Mail's leading on this. Unemployment's 5%. Growth is in the gutter. You've got bond yields very, very high in terms of borrowing costs at the moment. So yes, Reeves and Starmer are pretty hapless, and they shouldn't have made promises they couldn't keep, certainly before the election. But remember Reeves last year after the budget saying, I will not come back again, once in a lifetime thing, and all the rest of it. She told Trevor Phillips on his programme, and it's clear for everyone to see, she didn't have to do that. It was a tactical error, but the Labour Party itself is not serious about the challenges this country faces.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I heard a Labour commentator on the radio as I was driving in who says that 100% Sir Keir Starmer will not take Labour into the next election because experience has shown in the last few years, once the rot has set in for Tories, you cannot win. And he believes the rot has set in for Labour. Do you think it's that bad for Labour?
Well, I think
so soon after an election.
I think Keir Starmer's sort of personal approval ratings are pretty dire, and it's very hard. I mean, I don't know of a case where prime ministers have turned that around, really. So I think it is really, really difficult. I think it is kind of existential for him, yes. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because a few weeks ago, we were talking about... I thought we wouldn't see a leadership election before May, for sure. So the party would give Keir Starmer a bit of time. We've got those important elections in May. We'll see what happens in places like Wales, in the local elections in Scotland, and then they might act. But I think probably what Labour MPs are thinking is, there's not actually that far to go until the next election. It's, 3.5 years now, max, and if you're going to switch it up, you want somebody to have a bit of time to...
And the problem with a headline like this in the Financial Times, unemployment increase deals fresh blow to Reeves before crunch budget. If people aren't working, they're costing the taxpayer money.
It's really...
fundamentally, that does not equal growth, and that equals difficulties for the Treasury.
Definitely. And let's be fair to the government, and let's be fair to Rachel Reeves, which is this is not an economic situation that's mostly of their making, I think. It's a product of really long-term structural economic issues with very poor productivity growth, lack of investment.
Budget speculation for months, which stops
budget speculation for months.
Housing market stalls.
Living standards have been stagnant since 2008. People aren't really better off than they were in 2008, which is quite extraordinary to have that extended period of stagnant living standards. Brexit made it worse, the pandemic made it worse. The Ukraine crisis made it worse.
But I'm talking specifically for this budget.
Yes, there's
when you need
all
money.
sorts of things.
The number of people claiming universal credit who were not required to work has risen by more than 1 million in a year. There are now 4 million people in this category in October who never need to work. That is a very, very expensive bill.
Absolutely, it's a huge issue. And the problem is that it's really difficult to reform. I think there is cross-party consensus that there are too many people permanently out of work and not looking for work as a result of health conditions. The problem is that what the government was proposing to do was to cut the welfare budget and cut benefits, including for people who actually literally can't work because of their physical disabilities, rather than focus on how you actually move people who might have been out of work now for 3 years. And the problem is that you need money for that up front, because that's actually pretty expensive work in some way. So it's all very difficult. But I do agree with Ali, which is that the way that it is a problem of their own making is that they went into the election saying, vote for us and we'll fix the economy, and we'll fix the economy within 5 years. They are not going to fix the economy within 5 years. The trends make that clear.
And talking of expensive, this decision about WASPy women, these women born in the 1950s who claimed they were not properly informed that there'd been a change which pushed back the age of retirement, 65 then 66. There was a U-turn. Labour was very supportive of them. Then it decided it couldn't do anything about it. And now it's going to look again because of new details that came.
Yes, that's right. So there was the Parliamentary and Health Services Ombudsman, which is the ombudsman that rules on these sorts of things.
That's the eye, if we have a look.
The independent ombudsman. It ruled that women weren't entitled to compensation for the money they missed out on as a result of the pension age going up, but that they were entitled to compensation because there had been really serious failures in the way that the government had communicated to these women that they weren't going to be able to retire, until 5 years later than they might have anticipated. Now, you had all that support from Labour MPs before the election. Then Labour came in, said, no, we're not doing this. They are now being taken to court. They're being judicially reviewed by the WASPy campaign. That was due to be heard in December. And now they said, actually, we're going to look at it again, which suggests to me they think the case might be strong and they want to ward off the legal case.
That means more money. And where's the money going to come from? And it also, they're looking to remove the two-child benefit cap, which is also going to mean more money. So this is the thing. So, look, I understand that the instincts of the Labour Party and their DNA is redistribution. I mean, they should just be clear about what, if that is the mantra, then just get on with it so we can all understand what the pain is and move on with our lives. Because at the moment, they keep pussyfooting around, we're tinkering here, tinkering there. The Labour Party backbenchers are not serious about the dire state that this economy is in. They're just not serious about it at all. There has to be welfare reform. To give Reeves and Starmer their due, they have talked about trying to get people who are young, who are not in employment at the moment, trying to give them an incentive to get into employment by the state paying them a bit, get the training, get the skills, get on the job market.
Yeah, but I mean, the era was starting with those who are on benefits for disabilities, and that clearly was not the way to go. Maybe tackle it a different way. We're running out of time. There's so much to talk about tonight, isn't there? But and lots more still to come in the next part of our programme, including the outgoing boss of the BBC defending his staff, but is his response to Donald Trump too timid? We'll discuss that and more next.
Mr. Trump, James Matthews from Sky News.
Hey, James.
I'm James Matthews, and I'm Sky's US correspondent, based here in Washington, D.C. Mr. President, what will you say next to Benjamin Netanyahu? In June 2009, did you stay at the apartment in Manhattan of Jeffrey Epstein?
I'm not answering any questions about him.
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent. I've interviewed some of America's most recognisable politicians. Should the Defence Secretary and the Vice...
Wait, what country are you
from the UK?
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting.
Mr Walker, you're anti-abortion, but 2 women say that you paid for their abortions. Are you a hypocrite, sir?
Connor, what did you say to the president? What did you say?
We had a great meeting. He was a great man.
I'm David Blevins, one of Sky's US correspondents, based in Washington, D.C. David Blevins from Sky News. Fire chiefs say that they're really stretched to the limit and running out of water. What have you got to say to that?
I've witnessed the remarkable passion for politics here.
Why only in America? Why is this American exceptionalism? I just want to understand why you do not think that guns are the problem.
Why is this just an American problem?
The anger too, and the division.
Where are you from? From Sky News, UK.
Yeah.
Back up.
Mr. Navarro, can
I'm allowed to ask questions, aren't I?
I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.
Vladimir Putin calls you outstanding, Mr. Musk. Has your ego and ignorance cost Ukrainian lives?
David Cameron needs to worry about his own country, and frankly, he can kiss my ass.
Mr. Patel, did you endanger public safety when you said the killer was in custody?
Free wherever you get your news.
What words do you have for Harry Dunn's family today?
Have a nice day.
Do you fear a fourth indictment?
I'll tell you on another day on the podcast what that was all about.
Welcome to the world.
Come along for the journey. It'll be fun.
Russia knows our weaknesses, but do you? This is the war game.
There were a number of armed security.
We want to discover, to find out what's really going on.
Everything you need to know about British politics in about 20 minutes. I actually don't like political drama.
So, where next?
Available wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Stephen Murphy and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach. This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
What might happen if Russia attacked the UK?
This is clearly an enormous show of force.
It is definitely out of the ordinary.
We ran a war game with former ministers back in the hot seat.
Ben Wallace.
Amber Rudd.
Jack Straw.
It's the kind of war game that's genuinely tested inside government.
The Russians are signalling that there may be an attack.
Russia knows our weaknesses, but do you? I'm Deborah Haynes. From Sky News and Tortoise, this is The War Game. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, welcome back. You're watching the press preview with me once again, Ali Miraj and Sonia Sodha. Welcome back to both of you. Ali, front page of the Daily Telegraph. We're the very best of society. A defensive outgoing Director General, Tim Davie, today. The looming deadline of Friday, of course, and the billion dollar potential writ heading their way. But, you know, what did he say, and was it the right tone, do you think?
Well, he basically said that there have been editorial failings, but we are the very best of society, and this is what he was telling himself. Look, he's basically trying to go out swinging. I mean, he's going to be there for 3 to 6 months. I find it a bit odd, quite honestly. I mean, you just had a galactic cock-up on Panorama, right, which is... Look,
that's the point. It wasn't just on Panorama. It was Panorama a year ago.
That's true, and there were other things as well, and their coverage of trans issues and the Middle East war and all the rest of it. But on that particular thing, they didn't have to do anything to that speech because there was enough incendiary stuff in there, which is why there was a Senate hearing on January the 6th and the whole riot issue. So they didn't have to do anything about it. I do feel that Tim Davie on the way out is just displaying the fact that the BBC's a bit tin-eared. Now, frankly, Trump coming out with this $1 billion thing is ridiculous, right? But he's coming straight out of the Roy Cohen playbook. Roy Cohen always told him, this was Trump's mentor, this lawyer, deny, 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 attack, 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 never admit you've done anything wrong. Now, in this particular case, he's come out with this figure of $1 billion. He has taken on other media organisations before successfully, by the way. I don't want a single pound of my licence fee money going to a court case with Donald Trump, for heaven's sake. It was a mess. The BBC need to apologise unequivocally. Davey needs to get with the programme and tell his staff that, look, we need to eat humble pie here. We've made a mistake. We need to ensure that it doesn't happen again to the best of our ability, not just tell them there's nothing to see here.
Well, other media organisations in the States have settled for millions.
Yes, they have.
Millions, not
16 million, 20 million,
but that's partly because they have regulatory issues to, which the Trump
which obviously
administration would
the
have
BBC
decision over, which doesn't affect the BBC in this country.
I mean, I have to say, I think over recent days, the BBC has given us a masterclass in how not to do reputational comms with the public, in the same way that the Labour's giving us a masterclass in not how to do it tonight. I do think the BBC comes across as timid, really, really defensive. It wasn't just about the Trump Panorama documentary. There were other really serious issues brought up in that leaked memo. I think some pretty clear issues with bias over Israel-Gaza, over the conflict between women's rights and trans rights. I think the BBC has sort of tried to make it all about Trump and that one error, which is comfort zone, right? Because it's saying to the public, get behind us, we're in this war with Donald Trump. And it's not actually looking at some of the issues that have been constructively raised that it should be tackling. So I think the BBC needs to be less defensive and more open to constructive criticism and making it less about this row with Donald Trump.
Yeah, just got a minute left. Let's take a look at the front of the Daily Telegraph again, which is about small boats, France, stopping even fewer under the Starmer deal. So what's the latest?
Yeah, so they're basically saying that just over a quarter of small boats have been stopped by the French police, which is lower than the one in, one out, what I call the nightclub bouncer deal that they did beforehand. I mean, one in, one out was this big mantra that we're going to tackle the boats, smash the gangs. And the French Coast Guard, the French police are doing even less than they did before. So it's not working at all. It's a mockery, what's happening here. And this is just giving more fuel to the opposition parties to beat the government with. I mean, it's just not working.
I think the difficulty is no Prime Minister succeeded in stopping the small boats. I think it's a genuinely difficult problem to crack. And I think just in the same way that Labour said, we're going to fix the economy if you vote for us, I think Starmer sort of just pretending that he could fix this issue in the same way Rishi Sunak did was not wise.
OK, we're out of programme. We need longer. Luckily, you're back shortly. Ali, Sonia, thank you very much indeed. So febrile speculation, defence coming out of number 10. Back with that in just a moment.
We are under Israeli military restrictions in terms of some of the things that we can film, but it's important to be in there. What a slow drive for the president as he approaches his golf club. Free wherever you get your news. I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, and this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.